Having worked in data collection and scraping for multiple years now, I understand the value in being able to collect pre-processed data reliably in a time series format that doesn't break the bank. So with my business, TickerTrends, we provide a visual terminal to visualize all types of data sources, including premium data sources and more simple data sources. And recently, we've been expanding more and more into offering managed APIs. When I was first researching how to scrape Google Trends or various search trends data sources, there were ways online to do this, whether it be using half-managed solutions or solutions that were very slow or worked half of the time or weren't providing me with the data that I wanted. So what we've done now is we've started to offer fully managed, simple to use, pre-formatted APIs for the types of data that we've seen is useful for us at TickerTrends, and we think would also be useful for many different other use cases. So what I'll show you is how to get access to this data and this API, and then of course how to use it in a simple way within your code base to visualize search trends and search volume over time. So first of all, to gain access to the API, when you land on the TickerTrends website, you will have to create an account. And with TickerTrends, we do offer paid plans or paid subscriptions, and those are more for the actual data terminal. So if you're interested in visualizing and seeing some of the data sources that we have within our terminal, then you can pay for one of those subscriptions. But we also offer a free plan which gives you full access to our API as well. So if you create an account and then select a free plan, you will be able to use our full API in the same way that I show in this video. So once you've signed up for your account, you can navigate on the sidebar to the API settings and API access tab. And on this tab, you'll see a couple of endpoints along with the pricing, the endpoint format, a method to generate your API key, as well as the credit system. Just a simple overview of what the credit system is. Each request or endpoint will cost a different number of credits, which we display just on the right here. And you can either purchase credits with a single purchase. So for example, I could spend $5 to purchase 500 credits, which in the case of the search volume endpoint would be 50 requests to that endpoint. Or what I can do is I can set up auto recharge. So if I plan on using this for a project and I have varying amounts of use and I always want to make sure that I have access to this endpoint regardless of how many requests I'm making, then I can set maybe a minimum credit threshold of 50 or 20 and set it to recharge a certain amount, maybe 500 credits once I reach a minimum of 20 credits. When I activate that, that means that my account will auto recharge credits whenever I have reached that certain minimum threshold that I've defined on my account. So once I've set up my credits and I have some available credits, or I just want to test the API in general, I can generate an API key and use it in a very, very simple request format, which is essentially the base URL, which you can see here, which is api.tickertrends.io/api/public with the search volume endpoint. And currently the only parameters which we have on this, which I think furthers the simplicity of this, is the term parameter and the key, which is just the API key parameter. And if you click this copy button, it will give it to you in this format so that you can then insert the term that you'd like and the key that you'd like, the API key for your account. So now let me show you how to use this in actual code. So here I just have an example in Python where I have my endpoint defined like I had mentioned, with the term Hoka, which is a running shoe company, and my API key. And you shouldn't be too afraid of displaying your API key in this way, because once you regenerate a new API key, the previous API key will be invalid. So right after this video, I will regenerate my API key, and then this API key will no longer be valid. Once I've defined my request setup here in Python, then I can do a GET request to this URL with these keyword parameters, with the term being Hoka and my API key defined. And then you can see that I've printed the response here where I can see the success message that the request has cost 10 credits. and all of the data that I have, such as the term that I searched for and the search volume for that term, which goes back 5 years and is weekly data. I can then format that data within a data frame and use matplotlib to plot the data. And here you can see the Hoka keyword term search volume over time of 5 years. So this is super easy to use, because basically once I have a term and I put it in, within a matter of seconds, you'll get the time series data of 5 years for that term over time on Google of the search volume for that term. And I can easily do this with many terms, and I can do this at scale. So if I have a project that requires hundreds of terms or thousands of terms, or just one term, then I can use this API to do that. And most of the time, as long as there's sufficient search volume for that term, I will be able to get data for it. So let me try a new term. Just an example would be YouTube. So now my term is YouTube, which I've defined here. I will run this section of the code where it will make the request. And if the term has not already been collected in the past, it will actually be collecting this within our systems. So it may take a little bit longer to collect depending on which term you're requesting. So for example, Hoka, which I had requested previously, took 5 seconds to respond because that term had already been collected in the past, whereas YouTube is a new term, so it's taking a little bit longer, but it should be almost done here, and it will display the finished message once the request is done. It's important to mention that this data is primarily based on US search interest. So if you are interested in more international search data, then we will be expanding that over time to the API and adding new parameters that will help with that type of process, or more specific locations in general. So you can see here now the request has finished, and I can view the data, and the response was successful from the API. And I can then plot this data for YouTube, the search volume trend for YouTube over time, and display that data once again. So this API is super helpful to retrieve the search volume for any keyword. Very easy to use with our platform. It's free to access, and if you want to purchase credits, it's relatively affordable. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and check out our other offerings at TickerTrends. I'm very excited to see what you guys do with this and if this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.